The final test to live or die. My name is Mark Bryant, and I'm in one of the most challenging fights for my life from a terminal cancer diagnosis. I need to raise £150,000 for life-saving treatment to rebuild my health, having had a relapse 8 weeks ago following a second stem cell transplant. Treatment options with the NHS are limited and are being given with palliative intent. I need to act now and access treatment that I know will save my life. I have the jigsaw pieces in terms of treatment options, and this GoFundMe will make it happen. My goal is to share my approach, having been on this journey for the last 10 years. Whilst £150,000 sounds like a lot of money in the current medical system, it is a small amount compared to the cost of the current cancer care, particularly for the type of blood cancer I was originally diagnosed with in June 2015, Acute Lymphoblastic Leukaemia, Philadelphia chromosome positive. One of the most challenging genetic mutations to treat with modern medicine. I know I can do this from the most challenging recovery position I have ever faced. If I can show you what's possible, it can help set a new standard for others to follow. Please donate, please give my posts some love, like them, share them, comment on them. In 2015, I was originally diagnosed. I had a full intensity stem cell transplant. Just 6 months later, I had a relapse and was considered terminal from April 16. At the time, I said, don't tell me the revised prognosis. And through my research, I ended up flying to America for immune regenerative medicine. I discovered that my brother's immune system didn't work in my body. And I met a very pioneering hematologist from Florida who helped rebuild my immune surveillance. My intention was always to go back and continue to test, assess, and optimize my immune function to ensure I had immune surveillance. And immune surveillance is the key to keeping us healthy, young, and vibrant, and for our immune systems dealing with any rogue cells. I set up a project called Terminal to Triathlon to raise money not just for myself, but also for other cancer patients looking to access alternative or complementary treatment. And I completed the Ironman in 14 hours and 10 minutes in August 2022. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to raise enough money to go back. And a few months later, I had a relapse in October 2022. I had a bumpy ride for about 4 or 5 months, but we found a drug that worked and it put the fire out. I started a new job and a new career in the hope that it would lead me back to Florida to test, assess, and address and rebuild my immune surveillance. That didn't manifest, and I ended up having another relapse later that year, and then I was being prepared for CAR T therapy in 2024. I had 3 months of different treatment that didn't work, and then I had a toxic overload from a medical error where I was prescribed the wrong drugs, and my body started to shut down, and I had a very near-death experience before the CAR T. Miraculously, I managed to get through the CAR T, only to have a few months reprieve before I had another relapse. And then that took me on the path to my most recent second stem cell transplant. And there's only probably less than 50 people in this world that have had 2 stem cell transplants and CAR T therapy as well. You can see here my disease levels over the last 18 months. The pink line shows the disease going up, and it also shows it coming down. So in April this year, we had 1 all clear, but then in August this year, 8 weeks ago, I had a relapse. You can see in the middle, there's a bit of a flat line. So in September last year, before the stem cell transplant, I went to America and I accessed the immune regenerative medicine, again with the Maharaj Institute of Regenerative Medicine. And I also did some very pioneering, very small embryonic-like stem cell therapy. And you can see here that had a profound impact. So I have the jigsaw pieces of the puzzle to bring that disease level down again. The last 3 years have been the toughest of my life. And that, as a consequence, has a huge impact on my family, on Fiona, my wife, my 2 children, and all my friends, where I'm having to depend on them to look after me, to care for me, whilst I'm trying to work out what the best next steps are, going through treatment, spending weeks and weeks in hospital. But miraculously, I'm still here. So what is my approach, and why am I still here? The first and most important piece of the jigsaw is to have the right mindset and to take responsibility. If I just left it and became a puppet to the system, I would have been dead years and years ago. For me, mindset is about spirituality, it's about psychology, it's about emotional well-being, and it's also about physical well-being. And I'll go more into that because I spent a lot of time over the last 10 years exploring what part of my psychological and emotional component played into me being originally diagnosed with cancer. The second piece of the jigsaw is medicine. And the more we understand medicine, and that the NHS or allopathic medicine, westernized medicine is only one piece of the jigsaw, the more opportunity we've got to overcome health challenges. And then how do you bring it all together? How do you personalize it? So understanding medicine, which I want to share with you today, is standard of care is great at crisis management. In the world of cancer, removing cancer with surgery, using the drugs to reduce the cancer burden, it is pharmaceutical led, burning it out with radiotherapy. And it's a fantastic system across all different healthcare issues when it comes to saving lives when the body breaks. But long term, it doesn't work. We're just treating the disease. We're not looking at why did it happen in the first place. So integrative and metabolic medicine, the next growing sector of medicine when it comes to rebuilding our terrain, looking at the environment that our cells are living in and making sure that we are supporting our environment to allow our cells to flourish, heal, and regenerate. The other benefit in the context of cancer is that when you understand integrative and metabolic medicine, you can help standard of care medicine work a lot more effectively, improving treatment outcomes. And then the final piece of the jigsaw, which I think a lot of people miss, is understanding longevity and immune regenerative medicine. You really have to understand that immune surveillance is the key to us staying healthy, young, and vibrant for the rest of our lives. Test, assess, and address not just our terrain, but also our immune function. I have an interest in health where I've researched and kept abreast of all the latest developments in this sector of the world of medicine. It helps the body regenerate, it builds immune surveillance, and it reverses the damage from all the treatment we've had. And when we have immune surveillance, rogue cells can't exist because our immune cells are going out there and dealing with those rogue cells. So my current situation right now is that I can't drive unless my platelets are a certain level, and they've been super low, so I've not been able to drive anywhere. So I've been homebound. I'm considered do not resuscitate because my platelets are low. I've had to have conversations with the healthcare team at the NHS about if things didn't turn out, where would I like to consider the end of my life? Would it be at home? Would it be in a hospice? Would it be in the hospital? And so having these conversations has been one of the most challenging situations of my life, whilst maintaining the mindset that I'm going to find a way. I'm going to make this happen. I have to go to hospital up to 3 times a week for 4 to 8 hours per visit. I have the belief, the knowledge, and the resilience to rebuild my health forever. And it has to be non-negotiable. Help me put these jigsaw pieces of the puzzle together so we can set a new standard for healthcare. My solution steps is to reduce the disease burden, which I'm doing with the NHS, and using a combination of integrative and metabolic medicine to bring those disease levels down. So then I've got enough space in my bone marrow for my healthy cells to start to regenerate. It's just a matter of timing and doing things in the right sequence and order. The next step is then to reboot my immune system. And I can do that in Europe. There's some very pioneering regenerative medicine where I have the opportunity to go there, which we're just trying to plan the right time over the next few weeks. And then the final step is then to head back to Florida to work with the Maharaj Institute of Regenerative Medicine, where we can test, assess, and address my immune function, and then we can rebuild that immune surveillance using the same treatment that's worked before. Dear friends, dear family, dear community, I have limited time to do this. I'll be working alongside my NHS team, my metabolic health practitioner. There's the UK's first integrative clinic in London called Sanctura, and a private consultant who can prescribe me medications that I potentially can't get through the NHS. I need to reboot my immune system. I need to get to Sweden at the end of November, the beginning of December, where we'll be specializing in some immune regenerative medicine, where I have a combination of very small embryonic-like stem cells, small blood-like stem cells, and exosomes to reboot my immune system, which will allow me to travel back to Florida. So this is my final test. I get to choose to live or die, and I really want to live. I love life. I have a passion for life. I've got so much energy for life, and I've got so much to give back. So please help, donate, share, comment. And if you have any ideas as to how I can access funding or treatment options, please do send me a message. With love and strength, Mark. Thank you.